Jonathan's an elf. Mark's becoming more of a goblin. Like, it's a thing.
I'm having tea metaphorically with someone all the time.
For sure.
Yeah, we're not crying. We're not.
It's tea coming out of my eyeballs.
Yeah, it's tea coming out of my eyes. Welcome to Between the Cracks. Today, we're in Seattle for Northwest Tea Fest, and we're going to be taking you behind the scenes with two of the best teapot makers in the United States right before Northwest Tea Fest. Oh, and talk about the struggles of running a business.
And come to blows, possibly.
Yeah. When are the potters getting here? The good ones.
Good ones?
The good ones? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think they're busy, probably, actually.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, this is your 5th, 6th, 7th straight year?
Of Northwest Tea Fest?
Yeah.
Well, I did miss a few for pandemic years, but I did like 3 before that. So I think it's probably 6 total with broken up a bit.
And Jonathan, and not Jonathan, and Mark, you've been to Northwest Tea Fest or no?
I have been to 2 before this one, before I was really like doing this as a career.
Yeah.
So I was more just there as a guest, and then there were a couple of vendors that had, a smattering of work that I'd made when I lived here.
I think one interesting thing that people may or may not know is Northwest Tea Fest is it's the tea festival, right? Like, it's the biggest tea festival in the U.S.
I think you've told me that before, but I'm kind of surprised to hear that, but it's a scene for sure.
Yeah.
Is this non-commercial or just in general?
Non-commercial, yeah. I mean, I'm not talking like there's like and a lot of times like if you include the coffee and tea ones, like non-commercial, like I don't know if craft or specialty. I don't know what.
Yeah,
like,
I think World Tea Expo is the only one that I can think of that could be bigger. The one in Vegas.
Yeah, but that's not a festival. That's a different thing.
Yeah,
like a trade show, expo,
and
that's fair.
That's B2B, not B2C either. Like, there's no consumer.
Sure.
Like, you're looking for like large. Like, we would go there if you wanted to get tea.
Sure,
that would be where you could go to World Tea Expo if you didn't like have contacts in China or Taiwan or whatever already.
Yeah,
Japan. Yeah, that's a good point. I do kind of forget about the World Tea Expo just because it's kind of like it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But why do you think, like, Jonathan, you've been here for a number of years. Obviously, Mark, you've been here before. Why do you think it's important, like, for having Northwest Tea Fest and like in-person tea festivals?
Well, for me, the in-person tea festival is my consistently best, like, direct to market outlet for selling work and for showing my wares to people in their hands. For many years, it was much more about getting feedback from the tea community and improving my own craft.
Yeah.
And slowly over the years, I feel that has transitioned more into being somewhat of an authority in the field and sharing the craft with the consumer.
Yeah.
And that's been this like slow transition that has been just a matter of showing up year after year that has happened. But the tea festival scene has probably been like one of the more important pillar foundations for my my craft and my outlets to the market.
Yeah.
I think there's also something to be said for bringing people together, especially like vendors aren't going to necessarily be able to talk during the event, but I've been talking about community and what that means a lot lately. And like, you can have art walks where people are going around to different businesses, but it's actually a rare occasion where people in the industry get to be in the same room and get to talk to each other and build community among like the industry. I think that's super important and something can be hard to coordinate. So having a big event like this where, a lot of us are going to be working at the same time, like we can go and get dinner afterward, or we can get breakfast before, and being able to actually interact with these people in a way that's planned and you can plan for it is really important to building community in the industry and building knowledge and hype.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about that. That'll probably be something we talk about closer to the end, is like, sometimes even if it looks like it's going well, it's not necessarily. And like, this is kind of one of the reasons why this is going to be one of the like deeper cuts for Between the Cracks, is like these are the guys that I talk to when I'm struggling and when I'm like, maybe something looks good, or like we have a drop that goes really well, right? I think that's something that like people, like your drop, we sold out of your stuff from the time that I posted it to the next morning, and people be like, wow, like congratulations. You're like, probably like, it must be going so well. And it is, but one drop doesn't change anything, right? Yeah. One festival doesn't pay the bills, right? I mean, not for more than a little bit anyway.
Yeah. Coming into like I can rely on this weekend to be probably my biggest sales in terms of cash flow into the business of the whole year.
Sure.
And I often, that means that I come to this with a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And then like, even like the first half of the first day, usually I'm just like feeling that pressure.
Yeah.
And at some point kind of cross a threshold where I'm like, okay, we're in the clear, we're in the black, this is going well. And then I can kind of ease out of the weekend. Yeah, it has been reliably very good, but also I rely on it, right? And so there's a vulnerability there too.
And I think it's a little bit different because you guys are making the teaware, right? I'm buying teaware and then selling it. But I think there is this, like, in both of our business models, you guys, it takes time to make more pots and we need to acquire enough money to buy more pots. And I think it's interesting when you look at, like, for example, like a festival like this or a drop that sells out, you have to recover from it too, though. Right, like, which again, it's like, are you really complaining about selling stuff? But there is kind of this like it takes it can take a couple weeks or a couple months to like get the inventory back up. And I don't think people realize like that there's a struggle in that's it's not just like, okay, boop, go, and we're ready to go next week. It's like it took weeks, maybe months to prep for it, and then it takes weeks, maybe months to like recover from it too. In a way, even if it is successful, which we're all hoping and kind of thinking that it is, right? Like,
yeah, even like zooming out a little bit on how generally my business is going.
Yeah.
Right now, like I'm in this phase where I'm building a studio.
Which looks so good.
Yeah, I think Start was there yesterday.
The wall kind of looks like
yeah,
this
it kind of does actually.
Check it out on Instagram. It looks really good.
I'm building a studio so that I can upgrade my own ability to be productive, make more work for a market that has been proving that it has demand for me, like for my work.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to make product that I can like consistent, or that I can just like hold the existing demand as it is while I string it along so that I can be more productive down the road.
Yeah.
And my bottleneck right now is in putting my time towards investing in the circumstance that allows me to be more productive in the next year.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make work to meet the demand. So like I have more demand than I can meet, which is exactly the right, like it's the ideal situation so that I can grow into it.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's pressure in that too.
I think it's also interesting because you guys have been both doing this for a lot longer than I have, and that's still there, right? Like if you're like, I think for people who like are looking to start a business, it's not just the first year or the second year. And that's kind of what I thought. Like our first year was good. Our first year we didn't make any money. Our second year was like, okay, there's promise we could make money. Our third year, it's like, okay, we made enough money that like, if we stay on this trajectory, we could be doing this full time. And now we're in our fourth year and like we're not going down, but there was like, it kind of tapered off and it's like, wait, isn't it just supposed to get easy after some point? And like, I don't think that's true. I think you just keep pivoting and you just keep going. And even 8-10 years in, that's still the case.
Yeah.
Right?
Speaking to keeping up with demand, I've had the same Instagram account because you have to give credit where it's due. That's where a lot of my advertising happens. And I've had the same account for like a decade now, almost.
Yeah.
And so I've built up, a good community, and I saw slowly, one of the signs from me was I would make a batch of teapots and I'd get down to less than 10. Mm-hmm. And then it would take 3 or 4 months for those 10 to even sell down to 5 or 3. Yeah. In the last 2 years, instead it sells down to 2, and then those are gone in a couple more weeks. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just like people are interested when the pots first go up. It's that people are consistently interested in looking at my website and wanting to see the work that's happening. And it definitely coincided with me being happier with my work, which is great. Mm-hmm. But the issue is always making enough work to have consistent stock on the website and, prevent people from being frustrated because
there's nothing up.
Yeah, there are artists that I would love to own certain things from, and I just can't get them because they sell quickly. Yeah. And that's like, it's a really funny problem to have, but personally, like it's a little painful. Mm-hmm. This year I did a drop in June and I was really happy about it. And then I looked back at the last time that I'd done a website update and it was June.
Yeah.
Of the previous year.
Yeah. So people thought that I was doing a drop on a certain date because it was the same date as last year's drop.
Oh yeah.
And that was really, like daunting because I realized, one, like I have a couple of physical health issues, but like I've been just trying to get by and figure everything out. And then when I did get back to work and I was ready to, like, it'd been a minute. And now I've got another batch of pots that I brought with me here that I've been pretty sneaky about. I haven't taken many pictures or anything, so we'll get to see them when I break them out. I honestly forgot what they look like mostly. But yeah, I mean, like, it's a matter of momentum and wanting to get the work out into the world and giving yourself grace. But like, I'm almost afraid of things selling out because I'm like, oh man, now I got to rush myself to the next batch. So it's a funny thing. I love the tea community and the support that they have always provided. And I'm sure, you know, we all feel more or less the same there. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I have to live up to the expectation that people have put on me.
Speaking of culture, it's interesting because you guys both got into Gong Fu tea culture here in the Pacific Northwest, right?
More or less, yeah.
More or less, right?
Definitely.
And I didn't even know Gong Fu tea existed until I moved to China. And I kind of, Derek introduced me to it, and next thing you know, like, was, you know, going down the rabbit hole. But like, what does it mean? Like, you're talking about like, getting your work in people's hands. Okay, we're talking about getting art in someone's hands, but like, you are the most function. I don't think there's anybody else that I know that's like, function is the most important thing. I don't care how it looks like, and I think that's starting to change. And you said you've gotten comfortable with your function level, but like, what does it mean for you to like be able to share the pottery and like the experience for like doing Gong Fu tea, or like what that looks like for you?
For me, I got interested in teaware when I met a Taiwanese potter in college. And he opened my eyes to what craft looks like elsewhere, and how it's really focused on function first.
Yeah.
And the ability that he had to make thin, balanced, beautiful, high functional work was so far beyond anything that I'd ever seen that I just kind of felt like I'd fallen off into the deep end on accident. I waited for a couple more years after that to even start making teapots.
Yeah.
But it was when I came to the Pacific Northwest and I talked to tea shops, specifically, not potters, that I got more and more interested in making the functional vessel that I wanted to be making, like going toward that goal. And sharing the work, like, it's great because at the end of the day, until someone actually gets to hold the thing in their hands and use it and it becomes a part of their practice, like, it's just an image on a screen. But when you actually get to put things out into the world, like, it's a part of someone's life. And you know that, like, at any given moment with the number of teapots that I've put out in the world at this point, I'm having tea metaphorically with someone all the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I have a pretty similar perspective. The person who introduced me to Gong Fu tea was Richard Brandt, who is on his way driving to Seattle right now from Portland.
He's staying here this weekend with us.
He'll be staying with me, so we'll see him today and all weekend. And I was firing an onigama kiln with him, and he was doing Gong Fu teaware. And he has lots of other little projects. He does, like, he's a very eclectic, creative person. So he's not as like myopically committed to teaware as you and I are, but his teaware is great. And he was steeping up some Taiwanese oolong while we were firing the kiln, and we were sipping on it. I barely knew tea at all, and we were drinking. I was like, "This is great. You know, the pots are cute." You know, barely knowing anything about it.
Like,
and he's like,
"Is this for a dollhouse?"
It's like, I'm trying to understand, why is it small? Yeah. We sipped it. He said, "Oh, this doesn't taste good," and I was like, "Well, I think it tastes fine." But he raked out coals from the front of the onigama kiln, spread them, and I was like invested in wood fired and in ceramic arts already, but not really teaware. And he rakes the coals on the hearth, puts a cast iron pan onto the coals, and roasts the tea like in front of the kiln, and then steeps it again. And we were drinking that, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, Gong Fu tea has a great potential for depth and intention and aesthetic beauty, and I want to pursue that. So I would say my motivations are like very much aesthetically motivated, more than pure utility. But I am firmly in the belief that the beauty of the work exists in the pouring, in the making of the tea, in the activation of the work through the tea making process, not in sitting on a shelf.
Yeah.
And so the aesthetic motivation is activated by the Gong Fu practice, not by the pure object.
And I think one really great example that I think is echoed across most of your work, not all of it, but most of it, is the small base. And Mark and I, we've talked about this too, like the proportions of like the lid or the base, or really any pot besides the body to the body. The smaller it is, typically less functional, but more aesthetically pleasing. And the bigger it is, the more functional it is, provides, better surface for balance, like in a cup or a pot. Obviously easier to put tea in if it's bigger on top.
Practical.
Practical.
What you're looking for is practical, not functional.
Practical.
Okay, sure. But like one thing that Jonathan, like with the batch that we're releasing, want to be either today or tomorrow when you guys watch this, we have some Gaiwans, and I wasn't going to say it. Mark's here. We also just sold some of Mark's Gaiwans. I'm going to say it anyway. I think Jonathan has the best pots that I've seen of a Western potter in this batch that he just sent to us.
Gaiwans particular.
Yeah, Gaiwans particular. Yeah, I mean, your teapots are great, but like I think there's different ways to do a teapot well, and a Gaiwan is more of I think there's not as many ways to do it, and like they just pour well, the balance is really good. And one thing that I noticed was, even though Jonathan has these small bases, he's been building in a slightly thicker base on his cups and his Gaiwans, and it brings the balance down. It makes them more comfortable to hold. It makes them feel a little bit more regal or kind of nicer, but it also grounds them so they don't tip over. Because like if you see those like vase cups that open up, they just always tip over, and they always like they're not practical.
As opposed to taking offense to that in any way whatsoever, I'm just like, maybe I need one, because I wouldn't mind having an example of a really good Gaiwan.
Dude, yeah, like I mean, I love yours too, and I love that. I was talking to Jonathan about this earlier. I love that your Gaiwans are still expressive. Like they're not just a carbon copy. Like you have the thicker handles. Like I think there are things. Your footing obviously is super. Like it's very definitively yours. And I want to see more people making Gaiwans that kind of take on more uniqueness, like teapots do.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Man.
I've been studying the form, and the one we're drinking from right now is Chinese from Dehua, mutton fat porcelain. And quite a few people, including yourself, have given me excellent examples of Gaiwan made in China that I have been using and studying and trying to figure out what those details are that make it work well, comfortable, and also beautiful. Yeah. And it's a slow process to like sit with that, take it all in, and then produce it and earn the ability to make it. So I've been working on that a long time.
I think it's also interesting, like talking about Gaiwan specifically, or just like potters. This is really, really kind of niche and specific, but I feel like most potters who are making Gong Fu style teaware are more interested in their teapots than their Gaiwans. I think that's generally true. I don't know. You and I are also really close, and I know that that's 100% true for you. So maybe I'm a little bit biased in this, but it's interesting, and I love seeing you just like putting that amount of effort into the Gaiwan form, because I think like I was actually really surprised when yesterday and today we've only been drinking out of Gaiwans, and that's like I've never went to another potter's house where we're drinking out of Gaiwans. Like it just doesn't happen. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, or it's just like, this has never happened to me before.
Yeah, interesting. It's like a phase I'm in at the moment, I'd say, because when I started making teapots, I didn't really know how to learn. Mm-hmm. I just started piecemeal, like figuring out how to learn, and it's a very long investment of like trying things, failing, having pots that dribble and pour. And we have one on the table here I made in 2016, which is a really good conversation piece because it's starting to show potential and also is like weirdly wonky in a lot of key ways. Yeah. But when I wasn't like learning my teapot form, what I discovered was that the best tool that I had for learning teapots was collecting excellent teapots from China, from Japan, from other craftsmen, similar to what Mark's saying. Yeah. And also conversations with tea house owners, tea retailers and stuff too has been important. And so I sort of stumbled on that as the method with teapots like 8 years ago. Yeah. But with Gaiwan, I've been I knew that was the way to do it, right? And so in the last year or so, I'm like, I'm going to investigate my Gaiwan form. I'm going to get 6 Gaiwans from all these different people, and I'm going to use them at home. And then I'm going to start making them and figuring out why does the Gaiwan that I make suck and the one that I use is great. And like, there's very subtle differences, and what are they, and how do I change that?
Yeah. I think you bring up a really good and interesting point, and kind of like part of this, I feel like I keep trying to like bring it back deeper. It's just having you guys. This is the first time I've been with Jonathan and Mark at the same time in person, so it's got me in the feels. I feel like I could not do this without of support from like you guys and Derek, obviously, being my business partner. I mean, I haven't seen him in 2-3 years in person, but we talk every week. I'm about to cry. But just like how important the relationships are, not only like from a practical perspective, but just a personal one of like going through the journey of like having access to different pots and having other people who are in this really niche thing that you can get to the next level. Cause it's kind of hard. I mean, you can just buy stuff and have stuff there, but it's kind of hard without having other people to like talk about it with.
2 things speaking to that. One is that I often say, and something that I very much experience, is that the more specific the thing you want to learn, the harder it is to find a teacher.
Yeah.
Small teapots.
Yeah.
For gongfu tea in the U.S., where there's not that strong of a tradition, you pretty much only have pots to turn to.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, me and Jonathan actually sort of came into the tea world at a similar time, or at least it felt like we were both kind of like rising up at a similar time. And man, how great it was to see someone else who was like pushing it and like making good work, even though, at the time he felt like my rival.
Yeah.
But no, like it was really awesome. And when I finally did get to meet Jonathan and like we got to sort of compare notes, and like when we finally got to meet each other, it was kind of, we were coming toward having our own identities in the work. And it was a really beautiful thing to see. Like Jonathan really came from this more aesthetic background, and I came from this more sort of obsessive functional background. And yet when you bring yourself along the path, there's always that convergent evolution. Where I've turned slowly more toward the aesthetic when I've been like more grounded in my function. And I've seen Jonathan's pots have been beautiful the entire time. That's never changed.
Well, I don't know. This one's pretty awful.
Hey,
but his spouts have gotten bigger.
And better and better. And it's not that they were ever bad to begin with. It's just, it's subtlety and it's intention. So when you look at a teapot made by someone who's really grounded in their work, you're not asking anymore like, oh, I wonder why they didn't do this. You're asking, why did they choose for it to do this? Yeah. And I love seeing that in other potters, and I could not be more thankful that I had Jonathan and other U.S.-based potters to look around at and know I'm not alone.
Yeah, and I feel like when we first met, we like there maybe before we met, but we were familiar with each other online and seeing work. There, I had an awareness of a similar like competitive feel that like we're competing for the same market. We're in this small little niche thing. We're both striving in this way. But like right away when we first met, we like agreed that being collaborators was going to be much more beneficial for both of us than being competitors. And if we can give each other feedback and improve each other's work, and then one or the other of us may have an opportunity at any given moment to have a show or a festival or something local that we can host for, like for this weekend, Mark sent me his inventory in the mail, and I have been housing it and it's because like
huge help.
Just like if we can support each other, we can both succeed better, right? And we both have agreed to that, right? And it's much better that way.
We're glad to have Dart around too.
I also got Dart's pots in the
mail. Well, like, so, and I think this will maybe act as somewhat of a segue, but potters are artists in general, potters, craftsmen are not necessarily known for their business acumen.
It's true.
And having someone that can help you and like keep you in check for how business is going and have those conversations, even if it's not like, oh, how far along are you on filing your taxes? It's not like that. It's just like, oh, how are you feeling about sales versus production right now? Like, how are you feeling about your traction, your advertising, all that stuff? Like having those conversations and being focused on media and making content and staying driven and inspired. Like you need those people around you. And Dart, you've been a wonderful source for inspiration and momentum.
Thanks, man. I often feel very lucky to just be at the table with you guys. All right, we gotta lighten this up. We're not crying. I'm not crying. I refuse to cry.
It's tea coming out of my eyeballs.
Yeah, it's tea coming out of my eyes. Jonathan, last week, Derek and I were talking about, I don't know, something with teapots. Oh, did you listen to the podcast? Do you have a chance? You listened to it.
Yeah.
So, Mark a while ago mentioned how you either become more refined or become a goblin as you get more along the pottery, scale of line as a potter.
Totally. Yeah.
And Derek was like, I feel like Jonathan's an elf. I was like, dude, Jonathan's an elf? Mark's becoming more of a goblin? Like, it's a thing. It's real. But in that elven pursuit, Derek saw the pictures of like when Jonathan was in Shigaraki, and then
Derek saw me in Shigaraki.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. And then the pictures from Penn State of the standing wheel, and he's like, "Dude, you got to ask Jonathan next week. Like, what's with the standing wheel? Like, is it part of his elven like charm and refinery, or is there some what's the story?"
Yeah, well, in the realms of Lothlorien, all of the wheels are at standing height. I learned on a sit down wheel like anyone.
Okay, like all the rest of us peasants.
Like anyone, yeah. Okay. And I have dealt in my history with like a chronic sacral back pain, and sitting and hunching has been like problematic for me just in terms of like stability in my body.
Yeah.
And then, so I've come across people who do standing height wheels and had seen that and was trying that on. And so I found it worked better for me ergonomically. But then as I refined my work from that place also, I found that I really like to look straight at the profile of my work that's on the wheel.
Yeah.
And so I'm often like kneeling on the ground, looking straight at my work in progress. Instead of if you're sitting at the wheel, you could have a mirror. A lot of potters throw with a mirror to get that straight on view, which works great. Or you're like bending sideways and like looking at it this way, but you're often in this weird sideways position.
Interesting.
And so I've found that
I've seen you do that.
The goblin girl.
I've found that like being on my feet around, like walking around my wheel and then crouching and looking straight at my work has helped me define the form a lot more, and now it's just a habit. And so I built in my wheel to a standing height cabinet in my new studio, and my whole workflow is like specifically like customized to exactly what I need it to be, which is the great advantage of having your own personal studio.
Yeah, I'm basically the opposite. No, not really. I'm also really focused on ergonomics in a different way, where I have my seat tipped forward to make sure that my hips are rotated forward.
Yeah.
And then I have the height is really important. And I also mostly throw off the hump.
Yeah.
So the work is higher.
Oh, yeah, it's already higher
than you would expect. Yeah, because of the amount of clay that's underneath it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I set my studio up where between making things, I have to stand up. So I keep my water on the left-hand side so that when I'm working on one side of the wheel, I have to reach around and over to get to my water bucket that keeps you moving while you're working. And then when I've finished a certain amount of work, I have to stand up to put it on a wall shelf. And so you build in movement into your process. Otherwise, eventually you do just kind of like curl up into a mummy.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
I do have a stool as well, like a bar height stool, and I saw Mark's tilted forward stool, so I got a stool that has 4 independently variable legs, and I've put that tilt in mine too. But it's like the wheel height is kitchen counter height, 36 inches, and the stool is like a bar stool is like 30 inches.
I didn't realize you had mentioned it a while ago about the ergonomics and leaning forward, and I just sold like one of my road bikes to a guy, and it's his first road bike, and he was like, "How do you sit on the seat? It's so uncomfortable." right? Because it's so like it's narrow and I was like, I just showed him like you rotate your hips around and you're not sitting on it, and it's crazy because then it loads all the weight on your legs, right, not in your butt, and so then your back is further. And obviously for cycling, it's more about aerodynamics than posture, like per se. But it's the same kind of thing where it's like, yeah, if you can rotate your hips, it's crazy. He was like, whoa, this is so different. It's like, yeah, because you're not sitting on your butt, you're actually using your leg muscles to, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, when you're learning, and me and Jonathan both teach beginners, when you're learning posture and the way you're holding your body and the way you're connected to yourself is super, super important. So that's like things that you should always be considering, and I think should really be a part of like basic learning is how are you sitting? How, are you bracing yourself? Yeah, it's really important, especially if you want to do this for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of potters have back problems or, various stability issues, and being conscious of that early on is really helpful.
Yeah.
And drinking lots of tea.
Dude, yeah. I mean, how else do you live? What else do you do? I don't do anything. I just drink tea all day.
And make pots. Well, you'll get
make
there.
Videos.
Yeah.
Make social media posts. Make podcasts. Make a whole marketing campaign.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Have a job on the side. Have a family. Raise a family.
Yeah, just life. We all do life, right? Just in different ways. I think it's time we go drink some tea.
Sure.
It's time to go unload a truck.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, speaking of which, talking about this not being a sprint, but being a marathon, we got to go do that for this weekend and then go home and then keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it for months and then years and then, decades, and here we go.
Yeah. And we'll do this again for